I just finished watching the Apple event and I recorded another video that was way too long, but I'm still going to upload it. And I don't know, four people might watch, three and a half minutes of it. But what I wanted to preface, especially now, having seen what Apple is offering, not criticizing any of it, regardless of if I like it or not, because I have my preferences when it comes to the iPad and other products that Apple makes. But again, after seeing what they're offering and how much this stuff costs, I have questions. And I think I would like to hear from somebody who might actually have an answer. Did you have a hard time waking up this morning? If you did, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, like, and comment below. Hopefully today isn't Monday. So, Apple released, or let's say announced, new iPad Airs, new iPad Pros. The iPad Air now also comes in 13 inches or 12.9 or whatever it actually is. And for the 11-inch model, I'm like, cool, fine. I understand it. You don't want the base model, $300 something iPad. You want something that's a little better, has a newer chip, maybe some other stuff about it that's a little better. Cool, fine. $600, not a bad deal. Still don't know if I'd buy it, but I get why people do buy it. Now, because a 13-inch model exists, I have to ask why. Not because somebody might not want a bigger screen, because I would want a bigger screen. But when I look at the price, I'm seeing that it is starting at $800. Now, $800 isn't going to break the bank for somebody who's probably shopping for an iPad, but I got to question, well, what are you getting for that $800? And for that, you are simply getting a tablet, nothing else. So if you want the Apple Pencil, that's another $100 and some more change. And honestly, I'm not too concerned about that because there are going to be people who buy iPads because they like doodling on them. I'm not one, so I'm not even talking to those people right now. For anybody who buys an iPad because it's just a bigger iPhone, or they think something about it, I don't know, this is for them because I'm that type of person who doesn't necessarily need to use a stylus. So you get a 13-inch iPad, $800. Carrying it around like that or just using it without some type of case, definitely not a great thing. So at minimum, you'll buy some type of case and, we'll assume that it's not like a keyboard case or something, but just a regular case, it might cost you $50 or something. And now we're at $850 for this 13-inch iPad Air. And for $850, we would now still be at 128 gigabytes of storage, which isn't that much. But for $850, cool. You know what? If you think you really need it, that's an iPad and a case, whatever. But I would have you know that right now, if you come to Best Buy, you can get a M2 MacBook Air, 256 gigs of storage for that exact same price. And no, you don't need to buy a case because the case is essentially built in. The screen is protected every time you close it. So if we're just talking about the bare minimum, iPad and case, we've already approached the price of a brand new M2 MacBook Air with twice the storage. So why would you buy the 13-inch iPad Air? Now, come back to the iPad Air. Still looking at the 13-inch one, 11-inch, cool, fine. Those people are okay. But let's say you do want one of the fancier Magic Keyboards for the iPad. So now we're talking about starting at $299. And as we can see, that $299 price is really for the smaller one. So $350. So we're starting at $800, then adding another $350 to it, we're at $1150. So for $1150, we've well exceeded the cost of the MacBook Air M2. And if we come to Apple's website, we're now at M3 MacBook Air prices. So again, I'd have to ask, why would somebody choose a 13-inch iPad over a 13-inch MacBook. Again, not talk to the people who draw, because, they exist, but there are plenty of people who buy iPads that don't buy Apple Pencils and don't really care to doodle on their stuff. So from a technological standpoint, and now from a price standpoint, I don't understand why somebody would choose the iPad over the MacBook. All right, so we've talked about the iPad Air. Now let's talk about the iPad Pro, because essentially it only gets worse. So the 11-inch one starts at $1,000, and the 13-inch one starts at $1,300. Going back to Best Buy quickly, $850, 13-inch MacBook Air M2. I know it's not the M4 chip, because the new iPad Pros have M4s in them, which for most people that additional spec bump isn't going to mean much, but it's there. But still, now we're saying either the same price if you're buying it at retail price, or $150 cheaper, you can buy a 13-inch MacBook Air. Now, before I go any further, there are going to be some people that hear the Air for the MacBook and the Pro for the iPad. From a user standpoint, you're not going to experience much of a difference. Like, I'm not going to try to waste time trying to tell, Apple uses words just to use words. So Air Pro doesn't matter. We're talking about a full-blown laptop and a tablet. The Air MacBook is going to be just as good and better in many situations than the Pro tablet. Not in all things. Pro DRX, the high refresh rate on the iPad doesn't exist, unfortunately, in the MacBook Air. But most people won't even know if that's even a thing. So again, $1,000 or $1,300, depending on what size that you choose over here. So we're at/exceeding MacBook Air prices. And then if you come here, and let's go back one, and we get the keyboard for 13 inches, $350 again, or $300. So now we're talking what? Either $1,300 or $1,650 for a 13-inch iPad Pro. So $1,650 for that. If you're buying a MacBook Pro, and I might have said MacBook Pro previously, but I meant iPad Pro, for $1,599, you can get a 14-inch MacBook Pro. Normally, I would not recommend that one, but if I'm comparing the base model 13-inch iPad Pro to the base model 14-inch MacBook Pro, trying to make them as similar as possible, then I'm definitely going to have to recommend the 14-inch MacBook Pro to somebody. It's just a better experience. So please, somebody help me understand why one would choose a 13-inch iPad Air or Pro over a 13 or 14-inch MacBook. Not understanding. Now, the last thing that I'll say, because I want to make this one as short as possible, we talked about pricing, we talked about some of the options, whatever. One of the main reasons that I still have no problem recommending a MacBook is because once you buy this folio, let's say this is what you're interested in. It's not a folio, it's the Magic whatever case. And this isn't the one for the latest version, but it's similar concept. When it is like this, you have to use it pretty much on a hard surface. So like right now I'm sitting at a desk. This would be an appropriate time to use an iPad with this type of case, or really any type of case, if I plan on propping it up, not having to hold it on a desk, something sturdy, a table, whatever. The moment you maybe sit on a couch and try to lean or do whatever, or if you just don't have access to a flat surface, it's not going to be as comfortable as you would hope. So as I'm sitting here with my MacBook Air, as you can see, the hinge is the hinge and it stays open. So I can use it wherever I need to, and the screen isn't going to wobble, okay? Whereas with these iPads, all the weight is up at the top. I know they've tried to make the bases a little heavier to try to counteract some of that, but it's just not a good look. And I shot this video and wanted to re-record it because this use case, I feel it's a lot for people. And my roommate goes through it, and a friend from somewhere else, she goes through it as well, that they're always looking to prop it on something. And it's like, well, with the MacBook, you have a stand and essentially a prop kind of all built in one. So why not get the MacBook? So again, I'm going to stop. I don't want to rant too long because that other video is super long. But from a price, performance, and benefit, I can't help but ask anybody, why on earth would you get a 13-inch iPad Pro or Air over a MacBook Pro or Air? So I know I said I want to make this one short, so this is just going to be a short little clip. I thought I included this, but when going through it and scrubbing it a bit, I realized I did not include it. So they announced these new Magic keyboards, and mind you, my entire question throughout this entire video has been, why choose either of these iPads over a MacBook? So let's hear what he has to say, then I'll come right back.
To complement the incredible thin and light design of the new iPad Pro, we're introducing an all-new Magic Keyboard. And it's loaded with great new features. First, it now includes a function row for quick access to convenient controls like screen brightness. It also has a gorgeous aluminum palm rest and a larger trackpad that's even more responsive with haptic feedback. So the entire experience feels just like using a MacBook. The incredible new Magic Keyboard makes the new Pro more portable and versatile than ever.
So right there at the end, prior to praising their products, he says that this new Magic Keyboard makes the iPad more versatile than ever. Yes. But he also said it makes it feel like using a Mac. So again, if you're buying a combination of the iPad and this Magic Keyboard to make it feel like a Mac, why not just buy a Mac? And I feel like I need to preface it again. I'm not talking to the people who would buy the $350 iPad. So children, elderly people, or people who just realize it's just a big iPhone. So I'm just going to stick with that. I'm talking explicitly to people who want this $800 plus iPad and would benefit from using this Magic Keyboard. So not the drawers. Yes, I know there are people who are artistic and architects and other things that I just don't know. So if you are one of those people, hey, yeah, a touchscreen probably works really well for you. But I know there are a lot of people who would just use it in this exact form factor right here. And I just got to ask, why? This seems extremely more inconvenient, more cumbersome, more expensive than just buying the all-in-one package, which is the Mac.